Welcome back, Transformation Matters at Oz Digital Consulting. We are here with a very dear friend of mine, Alan Koski. Did I say that right, Alan? I always have trouble with your
Close
last
enough.
name.
You could call me Ray. You could call me Jay. It's all good.
And Alan is the Chief Innovation Officer of Insured Nomads. And Alan and I have become very good friends over the past year and so. And we are just so happy to have Alan here on our podcast, Transformation Matters. How are you today, Alan?
I'm doing great. Great to be with you. And certainly can't wait to talk transformation because it's the future and the present, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Tell us a little bit about yourself. I mean, you have an unbelievable background in the insurance industry and other really cool and interesting things you've done. So for our listeners, just give them a quick snapshot of what you're all about before we get into some of the questions.
Yeah. I mean, first off, I've been in insurance, which is typically a pretty boring subject, except for the fact I've been lucky enough to get to 75 countries supporting expatriates, local nationals, digital nomads. Also been to some countries, Paul, that I might have been the only person who volunteered to go there to do an implementation meeting, to visit providers. And I always wanted to do that because one of the things I always think is important is you need to learn something new every day or have a new experience every day. So hopefully even today in today's talk, some of the people are listening, you'll hear something new, different that might spark some interest.
So that's what I love about you. Like you're always trying to think of things differently and very, as I would say, almost like soaking in all the new stuff that's coming around, especially in insurance, right? I mean, there's so many changes. And specifically where you jumped in is this idea of nomads in the workforce and the transformation of the workforce. I mean, what's your viewpoint of what's going on currently and how people are currently working and the idea of insured nomads? I mean, how does this all come together for you?
It's a really interesting question because we actually started our organization just at the beginning of the pandemic to support people. We didn't know the pandemic was coming, but we saw people working remotely. People actually typically resign, leaving larger companies and saying, you know what, instead of working in San Francisco as somebody who does taxes, I could probably work at a great surfing spot in Costa Rica. And when it rains, I'll do the taxes. And when it's sunny, I'll eat ceviche, I'll go surfing, I'll live the dream. And we wanted to support more people that way. And we also talked to a lot of people about what's missing out there. And people would say to us, when I'm in these locations, I'd love to be able to get more information about if I got sick, where should I go? Or if I'm feeling unsafe, is there such thing as a panic button? Or, if I need to be evacuated because my health is not good here, could you help do that? So we try to put something together. But more importantly, Paul, I think the broad-based picture is people are trying to move towards a longer, healthier lifespan instead of a longer, healthier life expectancy. You hope both go together. But what's happening is people just want more support as they go somewhere. And the other thing we're finding is that people are traveling to places that they're uncomfortable about until they get comfortable. So perhaps we could help assist them with artificial intelligence and information, et cetera. So a lot of new trends coming together in one spot, Paul.
So it's interesting about the trend of work, right? Because you and I had some interesting conversations about this. And I read something just the other day that the next generation of workers don't know what an office is. Like there's no boundaries to this, right? The idea of going into a box and this is where you work. Whereas what you're leveraging is really the future work environment, which is basically anywhere, anytime you want to be, wherever you want, if it's on the beaches of Costa Rica or if it's in the mountains in India.
Correct.
Right. So when you saw this trend, were you saying, hey, there's an opportunity here for insurance and health, or what were you thinking?
Yeah, that was it, because as somebody who's been in this space and many years getting feedback, I get, and even in my own personal situation, I moved from a rather large company to a small company, Insured Nomads. And when I was at a large company and would go to an overseas location, I'd have a security detail, I'd have a full medical briefing, I'd have the medical team reach out about all the immunizations I need and all the visas that need to be done. And then you go to a small company or you go as an individual starting your own business outside your home country, all of a sudden you don't have all that. So I said, wouldn't it be great if in an insured tech platform, we could pull all this together? So somebody could buy a program that would get them insurable benefit, medical evacuation, but also perhaps an app that is geo-positioned. So if something happens, you can hit the panic button. We know where you are. Or let's say I'm sitting in a particular country. I get a push notification that today there's going to be a big demonstration. Maybe it's an area I should stay away from. And I think the other thing we're finding is people are getting to more and more interesting countries. So in the past, when I would talk to most travelers, they'd be like, "Yeah, I'm going to Germany, England, and France." Well, people are now going to, Croatia, Costa Rica, Thailand, unique locations relative that they might not have a lot of information about, but it'd be great to give them, actionable information, actionable push notifications. And I'll give you one last thing too that's important. In these locations, you tend to use public Wi-Fi. And if you don't have the right security in place, people steal a lot of your data. And what we also felt, in this globally mobile space, we'd like to build a product that gives people some security functions too, like secure Wi-Fi built into our program. So you could actionably deal with us without losing all your information. And I think that's one of the big worries in the world, right? That, you're doing the right thing, but somebody steals all your data.
There. So what is who are your clients and what are you offering? I mean, you offer like a abundance, right? Because you work with business travelers, right?
Yep.
Expatriates. I mean, do you work who are your main course of clients you like? And what are some of your main other main features that people love about, Insured Nomads?
From a client basis, frankly, the folks that have really liked the program, we tend to have a range. It's students going to different foreign countries for different events, and they need extra support. It's the early retiree who is moved from retirement to rewirement, where they've left their job, but perhaps they want to go live somewhere else, learn a different language, eat different foods. There's folks in between that say, listen, I still have a viable career, but I'd like to work in a unique location. I think I'll go to Portugal. So there's that individual segment. And then it's the startup segment. It's small companies that say to themselves that they need more personalized touch. They need somebody who understands them, that might be a small company themselves who understands their issues. So that tends to be our clients. The products that I think people are really excited about is really the travel medical, or the medical when they're overseas, but also the extra items. Like if I have a security issue, I can get security evac. If a volcano goes off, I might be able to be moved because of natural disaster. If I get really sick and there's not a good medical facility here, help me get out and take me to somewhere I can get great healthcare. And then let's not forget about mental health. We're one of the few in the marketplace that, it might be the only one I know of, that provides mental health assistance on a virtual basis to just travelers even. And over my years, I've seen a lot of people have mental health and anxiety issues when they're just traveling on a trip. And we give people an opportunity to talk to somebody and get assistance. So Paul, it's really, I hate to say it, it's a lot of the things that I lived through and saw in the 75 countries I've gone to, because we've all been worried about certain locations we've gone to. We've had certain anxieties. And I sit there and I said, I really wish I had had some assistance here.
So you've taken your massive experience in the insurance industry and your personal love of travel, and you put it into like a one-stop shop to take care of my security, take care of my healthcare, take care of my data needs. And from talking to you, almost every other week, right? You're adding new and interesting features to this too.
Correct. And especially given both of us being parents and if children who travel around, I'm also really excited when, a parent actually buys our program for their child who might be hitchhiking through Europe during the summer, because they say, I really like the tools that you push out given where they are. It's very tech enabled like they are. And more importantly, I'm really excited that you guys have a panic button
Mhm.
and mental health
Mm.
support, because mental health has become a much bigger issue.
Mhm.
And certainly we can talk very much about how the pandemic changed people. But I think one of three things have happened to the people I've seen post-pandemic. There's the folks that say, post-pandemic, I got to catch up for lost time. I want to see the world.
Mhm.
There's another group that says, I want to see the world, but I want to make sure that I got a lot more support than I used to. And then there's other folks, sadly, who say, you know what? I'm not traveling anymore, and I'm going to stay at home. And those folks we won't serve, right? They'll be
Mhm.
served by their home country. But
Mhm.
I want to be able to take those people that are on the fence and say, if you do travel, you've got extra support. And then those intrepid travelers who say, you know what? I was sitting in lockdown for 18 months. This is my chance now to go to New Zealand and Australia. And I just, I want to have extra support. I want to be able to say, yes, you should go. We'll provide you great assistance. And if you bungee jump and you have any concerns, we can help you. If you hurt yourself anywhere, we can help you.
So it's you're always there with them no matter what, 24/7, supporting all the nomads traveling around the world with all their needs. That's pretty impressive.
It's great that you bring that up too, about 24/7. So even in our travel products, we also want to serve somebody during the course of the year, because we have a lot of people that say, you know what? I don't typically buy travel medical products because I'm healthy. Nothing ever happens to me. I don't get any value. And we'll say, well, first off, with insurance, it's about covering people and things that you didn't think would happen. But we still give you access to the app when you come home. So I'm sitting here in Delaware today, and if something were to happen within 2 miles of me, I'd get a push notification, even though I'm not traveling, like, don't go to this location, or there was a shooting or a car accident, or there's a big storm coming through. So we're even trying to give people some value when they aren't traveling and they're at home, and just giving them a little more peace of mind. Once again, it's about giving people a wider range of support.
So it's pretty amazing from where we came from before COVID to where we are now with COVID, and how that impacted the transformation of how we perceive work, right? This idea of going to a place and work, doesn't matter because of technology, right?
That's
because
right.
Of even our podcast, right? And
that's right.
And your technology and your app. How are you seeing technology playing in the future of insured nomads going forward?
I think the biggest transformation, and it's going to be a transformation across everything, is the artificial intelligence transformation. And we're actually using it now to acquire information in given locations. So we know where our people are. They can opt out, but if they have the app up and they enable it, we know where you are. We sweep the information out of the internet and publications that you trust. And let's say I was in Laos a few months back. Sweep the internet, and if something's happening in the city that I'm in, Laos, I'm in Luang Prabang, I get a push notification that there's a storm coming. Or I was on a business trip to San Francisco, and it mentioned that the airline I was on was running great delays. So artificial intelligence with push notifications. On the other side of things too is there's in travel now, I can put into certain websites where I've been, and it will actually come back to me and say, Alan, you might want to visit this location by your background. Now, in the past, somebody would say, I love national parks, and they would go and pick out national parks that they would travel to. That was very basic. I'd go to the library and pull out a book, and you're like, hey, I've been to Zion. I probably want to go to Bryce Canyon. Nowadays, with artificial intelligence, I put in there that, hey, I've been to Bryce Canyon and Zion, and I want to go global, and you'll push back 6 or 7 locations that there are Zions and Bryce Canyons in other countries that maybe I didn't even think about. So artificial intelligence also works that way. And then let's not be unrealistic that artificial intelligence is also a downside to is, there could be bad information that gets pushed out based upon what, I have as my desires. And, we want to make sure in the future too, that people are getting this information from trusted partners like ourselves, as opposed to untrusted partners who are trying to serve their own interests. And I know, Paul, that's an area I'm sure that you and Oz and other folks are very worried, about also.
All the time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I would say on the balance, we want to make sure that we're a trusted partner like you are, that people are like, yes, these guys are giving us good information, and we feel very, confident in that.
So let's talk about your background, right? Because you were executive at Cigna, you were executive at United Health. How did those experiences in your executive career prepare you for what you're currently doing?
I'll take it from two different ways. Cigna prepared me quite a bit differently than United in that the Cigna experience was we were in a startup business. There had been no expat plans really previous to us. We had to build a global network. And, we really had to create a lot of new things. And that entrepreneurial spirit is what I took to Insured Nomads. I think that it also taught me the importance of having a great team. And this may sound unique, but also a team that we all can laugh at our mistakes and move forward. But we would push forward, and we'd rather do something and have it wrong than do nothing at all. And I think that was an important learning.
Mhm.
At United, what I learned was the next step was how important it is to have insights. So we had things like algorithms. And I remember getting a phone call from a benefit manager that said, I had an expat that's on dialysis. We're wondering if they should stay in dialysis or go on a transplant list, and their age is, X. What should we do? And I'm like, wow, that's a really loaded question. And I was able to go to, the information people that we had that were able to look at our algorithms and look at a large data set and come back with actually above this age, you probably should do this. Below this age, you should do that. And so my learning there was that if you put a product together or a program, you also want to give the actual members actionable insights. So what I'm trying to do is kind of tie together those insights that people can use their app and get their own insights, but at the same time, still have the basics like, here's a great network. Here's how I get claims paid. Here's the basics. But at the same time, have a good time doing it, because no one wants to go to work with people they don't like. And people don't want to go to work where you don't laugh, right? And one of the reasons I always enjoy time with you is whether the foibles or not, we can laugh, and enjoy each other. And that's one of the things that I think we're also having issues with the digital nomads and remote workers is they too want to find community where they can laugh and meet others, because it can be a very lonely existence.
Yeah.
And absolutely. I think that's another part that we're trying to tie in is the community aspects of this. But great question.
Yeah.
One I've never gotten before.
Yeah. So, but let's talk about like the market, right? I mean, you're a trailblazer doing with you and your team of this idea of nomads. I mean, how do you see, or what's your view of the impact in the overall larger healthcare insurance landscape with insuring nomads and what you're doing? Do you feel you're pushing other insurance agencies to be thinking and transforming differently and to be more innovative? Or what's your thoughts on that?
No, very much so. I mean, in the past, in the insurance space, everybody concentrated on the large groups. So if you could write, if you're a particular vendor or broker, you want to take care of that group that might have hundreds or thousands of expatriates or business travelers around the world. What we're having now is more and more small organizations or individuals are saying, I'm opting out of that world. Mm-hmm. I want to go do my own thing. And they're saying, I would like to have had the same benefits and support that I got at a large company, because I'm no less important today than I was before. And there's also no gaps between work and play, in the sense that even when you go on vacation, I'm sure you bring your computer with you and spend an hour or two, or you might take care of an issue. So those barriers, are falling. Conversely, we hope what happens is that, yes, maybe you get dragged into an hour or two on a given day in your vacation, but then there's a day of work that you're working from home and you see it's a beautiful sunny day, and a friend of yours calls and says, hey, Paul, let's do this. It's a unique thing today. You can say, because I've got everything under control, I've got my information with you, I can
all
join you
balances
today.
out.
Yes.
Yeah, all balances out.
It's about balance.
Excellent. Yeah. So what's one important thing you always hope and wish that someone would have asked you, but never did?
Yeah, I would always say to folks that, if somebody asked me if I just one wish for governments or people in the world, what would it be? It would be to allow everybody, maybe subsidized or not, that everybody has at least one global trip. Because I find that when people travel globally, even once, just from their home country to somewhere else, there's a greater amount of empathy between countries, between people. I think it also helps people understand that it's a common condition. I think it would, if people had a greater understanding, we might have fewer wars and dislocations. I think it would open people's eyes and also see that there's other approaches that work in given countries. I think so. I would love to be asked, and I have not been, which is, and no government has reached out to me yet. But it's like, if you had one thing, let's see if we can get everybody at least one global trip, whether it's a week, a month, or whatever, to have a greater understanding, maybe a global exchange program. Because when people go through that, they're fundamentally changed, and I think they really come back with a greater empathy for what everybody's living with. And we just want our kids to grow up healthy and have a great life, maybe have a better life than we did.
Sure. Absolutely.
And certainly support that way. So thank you for that question.
Yeah, absolutely. So last question, Alan, how'd you make us smarter today on the Transformation Matters Oz podcast?
Well, I hope people took a little bit away from looking at healthy lifespan versus healthy life expectancy. I think that's extremely important, that we all consider ways to travel safely. We didn't really even get into the things that we're seeing in healthcare, like gene therapies, social determinants of health, using your personal tools like Fitbits. But, please, everyone out there, look at the healthy lifespan. And as a carrier like ourselves, we're trying to increase that. Like I mentioned earlier, I try to learn one thing new every given day. I hope somewhere out of this discussion today, there's one thought-provoking item, and who knows, maybe you can even spread the good word about, instead of us, incenting certain activities, let's incent people to travel globally, because it fundamentally changes them.
Alan Koski,
Yep.
Chief Innovation Officer at Insured Nomads. Absolutely a pleasure having you at Oz Digital Consulting. Transformation Matters. Any of our listeners, if you have any integration, technology, resource issues, reach out to us. It's readily available on LinkedIn, or go to our website, follow Oz Digital Consulting. Pleasure having you, Alan. Thank you, my dear friend. I owe you dinner.
You got it.